sobering study of the signed treaties and charters between Britain and the United States exposes a shocking truth. The United States has always been, and still is, a British Crown colony. King James I was famous not for just changing the Bible into the King James Version, but for signing the first Charter of Virginia in 1606. That charter granted America's British forefathers a license to settle and colonize America. The charter also guaranteed that future kings and queens of England would have sovereign authority over all the citizens and colonized land in America stolen from the Indians, and colonized land in America stolen from the Indians, and colonized land in America stolen from the Indians, and colonized land in America stolen from the Indians.
It's very important for people to know the real history, because not to know the real history, you must know world history and European history, and you must dismiss the black and white game. If you don't, you're already in the trap. You're in the matrix. All right. The other thing is, because certain things that we were talking about earlier, different things that we're hitting on, and hearing people say different things. One of the things I recognize that a lot of people fail to recognize is law, what it is not, what brings it about. And so I think with a lot of us, this can help. And I want to go to this point first, then we're going to open up the questions so that we can deal with the matters that are important or that's before us. Now, pardon me, all civilization operates on contract. There's no such thing as civilization operating without contract. Contract is an agreement, a treaty, constitution, verbal, oral, however. They're covenants. They're all forms of contract. One of the things that I see that's a weakness with us is because of the usurpation of the United States Republic, which the Moors helped set up. People unconsciously keep equating the U.S. democracy and the United States Republic, which is the first weakness. Now I'll make it very, 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 very clear. The U.S. democracy has no law. The United States Republic of Morocco has the Constitution. They cut Morocco off. That is what the slavery really is. People's concept of what the slavery is in the Western Hemisphere is totally wrong. So before you can really understand how to deal with the law, you must understand what the secret societies did. You have to have, put it this way, if you don't have any knowledge as to what is the body of information or the foundation principle body of information that the secret societies across the world have, you can't understand how and why governments are run. Do you understand? It's not left to emotions. And we have a tendency when waking up to still mix emotions with realities. This is where we get caught in the matrix that everybody just is talking about. And that vague area where foreign authorities are able to take jurisdiction in other areas where they have none. And then we get to the position of arguing what the law is and what the law is not. And so you come back to the foundation principles. And so if you don't understand the political evolution on how the Europeans established government here, then you can't understand law.
The plan, of course, is to induce the gradual surrender of American sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Here are the aims for the United States. 1. Greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible. 2. Higher and then much higher taxes. 3. An increasingly unbalanced budget despite the higher taxes. 4. Wild inflation of our currency. 5. Government controls of prices, wages, and materials, supposedly to combat inflation. 6. Greatly increased socialistic controls over every operation of our economy and every activity of our daily lives. This is to be accompanied naturally and automatically by a correspondingly huge increase in the size of our bureaucracy and in both the cost and reach of our domestic government. 7, far more centralization of power in Washington and the practical elimination of our state lines. There is a many-faceted drive at work to have our state lines eventually mean no more within the nation than our county lines do now within the states. 8, the steady advance of federal aid to and control over our educational system, leading to complete federalization of our public education. 9, a constant hammering into the American consciousness of the horror of modern warfare, the beauties and the absolute necessity of peace. Peace always on communist terms, of course. And 10, the consequent willingness of the American people to allow the steps of appeasement by our government which amount to a piecemeal surrender of the rest of the free
On November 10, 1898, over 2,000 armed white people descended on Wilmington City Hall and forced black and white elected officials to resign in a coup. At the time, Wilmington, North Carolina was home to a prosperous community of black business owners, doctors, lawyers, and politicians. In the days leading up to the 1898 election, white groups known as Red Shirts organized to intimidate black voters. Infuriated by the result of a biracial government, a mob of white men waged a campaign of terror against black residents. Colonel Alfred Moore Waddell, a former Confederate officer and U.S. congressman, led the mob and declared that he would choke the current of the Cape Fear River with black bodies. Armed white rioters destroyed black businesses and killed hundreds of black residents. The Daily Record, a black newspaper that had previously denounced lynchings of black people, was the first business the mob targeted. President William McKinley declined to intervene, leaving Wilmington's black residents to fend for themselves. Thousands of black citizens fled the city in the wake of the insurrection, which dramatically altered the racial demographics of the city. Colonel Waddell, who led the insurrection, was appointed Wilmington's new mayor. Racial hierarchy was codified as state policy for half a century to follow.
Kai ko'o ka moana kai lana nei Hawaii nau e wehe a lulu ka honua a haumea na kulukulu e ka lani ki e kau mai luna au e ke aloha ole a ka malihini.
Au he avale o kopu alikoa o ke ave.
Ne ko kamalala valula me ka kuhi hewa. Alu mai pu alu mai me ko mano kalani po. Ka I mai ana mena ka ma ka hele lani. Kuha aheo, mama kakaua, o ke eru kakahiaka, ona o vivi o Hawaii nei, no kukula hui e hawi pau, ai o la now a muai na poki ai nuai ava e ole a hopu pa a o he hope hoi mai ai ana I vale no ka kou ka uko e maui ke ala au e ke aloha ole a ka malihini.
Not hotels, not military bases. So the community preservation here must have
Ile rehi ali rehi nani o kuaina. Hoya mau no ka pono sivila. A hoi 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 a mai ke kuokoa.
Kuha